Good morning, grade 12. Yesterday we talked about the rhesus monkeys. Do you have any questions concerning the first experiment with the rhesus monkeys about isolation?
No, thank you.
Okay. Today's experiment is also about or with the rhesus monkeys, and it's also about socialization. But this time, the experiment is about the relationship between the baby and the mom, or the physical relationship between the baby and the mom. In the experiment, what happened is they got two monkeys. One was separated, they both were separated from their mothers at birth. They exposed the monkeys in a room to two artificial moms. This is the artificial mom, if you can see the picture. Okay, one mom had a furry body like this, and the other mom had no furry body. It was all made up of metals, but in its hand was a bottle of milk. So they had two options, whether they go for a warm hug or they go for a bottle of milk. They were free to choose. The monkeys would put inside the room with these two moms, each monkey separately. Okay? At first, the monkeys would go for the bottle of milk. But as time passed on, the monkeys would choose the other mom, the soft mom. After repeating the experiment several times, they discovered that the monkeys stopped going to the mom with the bottle of milk, but instead they picked the furry mom or the furry doll. As a result of this experiment, they concluded that the infant monkeys or the rhesus monkeys, they preferred closeness and comfort more than food, or they preferred feeling secure more than food. The conclusion was that the infant mother bonding is not the result from feeding, but it's the result of physical contact, which means that the babies, human babies, are connected to their moms not because of milk or not because they're breastfed, but because of the hug and the comfort that they get. So in this experiment, who can tell me what's the hypothesis or what's the theory? What are we trying to prove? Hands up, please, if you know the answer. Grade 12, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
good. So can you please answer the question? This small experiment, the one with the two dolls and the monkey, what are we trying to prove? What's the experiment about? What's the hypothesis?
Can I see?
Yes, Dan.
Okay.
Hands up, please, and then I'll pick one by one. Give me a second. Daniel, tell me what's the hypothesis? What are we trying to prove?
Are the children connected to their mothers after they were hatched يعني?
طيب, this is the first correct part اللي هو we're trying to see whether the connection or socialization is because of physical contact or
Emotions.
لا هو ال two options they had physical contact ولا ايه? What did the other doll have in the hand?
Milk.
Okay, so the theory or the hypothesis should be, is the connection between the baby and the mom a result of physical contact or food, which is milk? Okay, now
Okay.
what's the control group? Who knows what's the control group? Hanya.
Yes, yes.
What's the control group in this experiment?
The monkeys with the which one?
Not the monkeys.
يعني the robots يعني بس قلت لي which one.
Yeah, the control
صح؟
group is the normal cases that we are comparing to.
اللي هو يعني the mother and their babies يعني.
Babies. Normal
Okay.
babies, right?
Yes, okay.
Okay. What's the experimental group?
The ones with the robots بقى.
Yes,
اللي
the
هو
monkeys, the rhesus monkeys with the robots. Okay. Minna, what's the
Yes.
conclusion of the experiment? What's the result?
Babies, the feeling of security and protection comes from physical contact rather than an action like breastfeeding.
Excellent. Thank you. Do you have any questions concerning this experiment? So, from these two experiments, Harlow and his wife, they concluded that infants, human infants, they have emotional needs. And these needs affect, just like the physiological needs, socialization. So in order to be a complete person who socializes with people, you do not need only food, water, and protection, but you also need affection and intimacy, and you need relationships with people. So both emotional needs and physiological needs are necessary for infants or babies to have a normal sociological life. Clear? So if I ask you what are the needs, or what are the important needs for a complete socialization process, what will you say? Matar.
بس ممكن تقولي تاني؟
What are the needs needed for the complete socialization process?
ثانية كده.
Basant, can you answer the question?
I can't hear you that well.
What are the needs necessary for a complete socialization process for a baby?
Contact, communication, affection and intimacy and warmth.
So these are the examples. Can you divide them as two only? Yani what are the two main categories that we need?
Emotional needs and
Exactly.
physiological needs.
Emotional needs and physiological needs. These are the two needs for a complete process of socialization for a baby. If I ask you explain, or if I ask you give examples of emotional needs, you can say affection, intimacy, warmth, protection. For example, warmth, security. If I say physiologial needs, you can say
Miss
food,
ممكن
water, and
عودة.
protection. Yes, Daniel.
Miss ممكن تدخلي عودة.
Okay. Now, these were experiments and cases on monkeys. In real life, we have cases, they're called feral children. Feral means they do not act like humans, but rather they act like animals. Feral children were children that were isolated or raised in very unusual conditions that resulted in them acting not like kids or humans at all. Three famous examples are Anna, Isabel, and Jeannie. In these cases, they show us how socialization affects the development of a child. The first case, Anna. Anna was found tied to a small chair in a storage room. She was tied her hands and feet to the chair. The arms were above her head. Okay, her mother was gave birth to her, but she was unmarried. So the parents were not happy, and they decided to hide Anna from the community, from the people. So they hid her in the basement of the house. First, they tried to send Anna as soon as she was born to an institution, like an orphanage. But when this institution found out that she has a mother, they refused and they returned Anna and her mom home. Anna was scared. Anna's mother was scared that her parents would kick her out of the house. So what happened is she hid Anna inside the house for 6 continuous years. Anna was locked up inside the room. She only received little milk to drink to survive. She did not get any food. She did not get any treatment. She did not get any contact with anyone, including her mom. When she was discovered in 1938, she was 6 years old. Her legs looked like a skeleton. Her stomach was bloated. By bloated, it means like it was swollen. And this happens when you do not eat properly. She only drank a sip of milk every day. They never fed her. She did not move. She did not learn how to walk. She doesn't know how to walk. So her bones are not as stiff as normal kids her age. And of course, she does not talk because she does not know any sign of communication between people. So her brain does not function. So she has no signs of a living human that can do at 6 years old. When the sociologists discovered her, or when the police department actually discovered her after one of the neighbors filed a report that there are a couple of nights where they hear a baby crying and then the crying stops from the house, they took her and they started treating her and taking care of her. Anna started to show a little bit slight of improvement, but she could not talk. She could only sit up straight. She could slightly move her arms and legs and head in normal cases, just like the kids do. But she could not run. She could not walk properly. She could not do any functions with her fingers, like opening a zipper or opening a jar. She could not use, she doesn't know how to use the hands. So she continued improving for a couple of months, but then when she discovered that she was different, or when she started improving, they sent her to a school for disabled children. When she reached there, she improved and she saw a lot of kids. She tried to join with them or interact with them, but her skills were only of a 2-year-old. Seeing that she was different from the kids surrounding her, she started to decline. She died at the age of 10. Most of the reasons say that her death is psychological because she was upset that she was not like the kids around her. But by the age of 10, she could eat normally, dress herself, go to the toilet, but she could not talk. She could only use a spoon to eat, and she could only put clothes on her, but she cannot button or zip her clothes. Anything that involves any detailed actions, she could not do. Do you have any questions regarding Anna? This is a case of isolation. This is a case that supports the experiment of Harlow that has to do with isolation and socialization. But unfortunately, this wasn't an experiment. This was a real life case that shows how isolation affects people. Do you have any questions regarding Anna?
I don't understand what happened to her.
At the end, or you mean from the beginning?
Know what happened to her in the middle.
After she was discovered, they took her and they cared for her and they started teaching her what to do. She showed
No,
progress.
what did her mother do to her?
Her mother did not do anything. She only hid her from the society as if she was not born. So she left her inside the room, no contact. She did not sit with her. Of course, the grandparents did not sit with the baby because she was born to an unmarried mom. So it was a disgrace. So they kept her inside the room. They tied her up to a chair and they only gave her a sip of milk every day. That was it. No food, no water, nothing. No one sat with her, talked with her, or spent time with her for 5 continuous years, and she was discovered on the 6th year. This is the part that you don't get?
Yes.
Okay.
Miss Minna,
Yes, madam.
why did her mother like hide her or isolate her?
Okay. Number 1, her mother wasn't married. Okay. So this was an illegal child. So this brings the family dishonor.
Okay.
She feared that if she kept the baby and she stood up for the baby, then her parents would kick her out of the house. And the whole family did not want disgrace. So they reached a solution where we will say that as if she wasn't born or she died at birth, and they hid her in the room. First, they tried to send her to an orphanage, but an orphanage does not take kids with parents. So they refused. So the only chance was to keep the baby, but not getting dishonored by getting a bastard. So they hid her inside the room. Because if they left her at the house, she would run, she would talk. Anyone who knocks on the door would actually know that there's a baby inside. Do you all get it?
Yes.
Do you have any questions concerning Anna?
No.
No.
Okay, we still have 5 minutes for the end of this session, so I'll just stop this session and then we'll join the other session right away so we can continue with Isabel and Jeannie. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.